Hey, what's up everybody, BDF 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so I figured I'd do a therapy session because I know that I haven't spoken on the Master P Little Romeo situation. And I think it's one of those situations where it's like, based on the type of topic it is, it's probably consistent for me on this channel to probably bring something like that up, because there's always something to see in situations that's more than what we're looking at. And I think the angle that I'm looking at, to be honest with you, is kind of surface level as it pertains to this story. And maybe it isn't surface level, I guess, but I am looking at it kind of like everyone else is looking at it, which is why I didn't want to bring this to the channel. But excuse me, I said a little prayer about it just now, and yeah, I was compelled to turn on the camera anyway. So we'll see what comes of it. But honestly, I just think that, this is a situation where they got a private affair taking place, and when you raise your family in the public eye, when you have private affairs, it's almost like what comes naturally to these celebrities is to play it out in the public eye. It's to try to entertain while going through what they're going through. It's almost like a therapy for them, sort of like I'm doing here, to where they, in order to heal, they need the attention of others. And I think for me, in watching it, that's kind of what I'm seeing in some way. Now, as far as the specifics of what's being unearthed, their business, it's tough, man, because I'm only listening to what's being said, and I'm in a space in my life where I don't trust the publications that send us this information about people as it pertains to how they're being looked, how they're viewed, and what have you. And the quotes that are being released to us, spiritually, in my mind and in my heart, I feel like that's not stuff that I should be reading at all. But as I read more and I listen to what Romeo is saying, essentially what he wants us to understand is that the image that his father has put out there isn't the image that we should believe his father is. And even though he believes his father has done the best he can, he wants us to know something about his father as it pertains to the fact that his dad has always put up an image as if he's been a certain way, when it was really that he was handling his family in the opposite way. And so if that image means so much to his father, what's there to see behind his father that would make it so that his father would have a certain image that wouldn't be real but have a real heart? And so that's where it comes from me. It's like, all right, this is yet another one of those situations where I'm looking at a celebrity that's been in my face my whole life. For whatever reason, it looks as if something is trying to be unearthed from behind them. You understand what I'm saying? For whatever it is, it's like, all right, here we go again. I'm looking at, like, for example, Shaquille, when he was speaking on Kyrie Irving. All right, from behind him, it looked like Shaq was stepping outside of the character of the person that I've seen give all this and that to the city of Los Angeles. He looked like he was stepping into a different energy that didn't represent something that I felt like he would say in a barbershop. I didn't think that. I think he was saying something that he would say on contract for TNT. And I didn't like it. And it showed what was behind him potentially, or what it is that he actually really stands for, as opposed to what it is that he was showing us in LA. Whatever the case may be, it showed us something else. And I look at, Charles Barkley. I felt the same way about his comments to a degree, although they were more so on brand with who he's shown us, right? But it was just a certain way they approached that particular conversation that made me think that there was other people's interests behind them, as many other, situations in regards to Kyrie Irving and that flurry. It just made me look at media a certain way, as have, past elections and things of that nature, and certain conversations that people just have commonly to make you say, you know what, I don't trust where this is coming from. And neither should those who are allowing those, themselves to be reported by these publications. I don't think you should let your public business be aired out, because some of these guys are the middleman in the situation, and they have been a little funny with people's images in the past. And maybe the psychology behind how we're seeing these people behave is somewhat wrapped up in that as well. And so, if I've always looked at, excuse me, God, I've always looked at Master P as somebody who's helped the community, man, just like Shaq. Somebody who's always put his money where his mouth is as it pertains to giving. I don't know how much of that over the years is true or not. Like I said, I was watching the images everybody else was, so I see him through the lens that we're supposed to see him through. You know, we raised his son very well, it seems. You know, they were successful. His family, they were all talented, and everything was seemed to be on the positive side of things. You know what I mean? I've always appreciated Pete. He, you know, when the whole situation went down with Snoop Dogg, with Snoop, you know, had to leave Death Row, my perception of that as a child was that Pete came in and it showed Snoop how to, you know, keep his career going and resurrect some of his hype and put him back in a position of power in hip hop. So I always looked at P as somebody who could provide something to the rest of the community that helped them reach their goals and reach certain heights that maybe they couldn't otherwise reach. He taught others. And that's how I looked at P as a teacher. You know what I mean? And so for me, looking at this situation is sad. I think it feels to me as somebody who looks at him as a positive image, as if he's being attacked right now, spiritually or you know, just like his enemies are finally coming to get him in some very, very, very messed up ways. That's what it looks like to me from afar. You know, without trying to bring conspiracy of what was tragic, I just look at like the timing of things and I say, wow, it's hitting him in his heart. It's not like it's just hitting him, you know, in his pockets. You know, these are his children in this situation. So it feels spiritual to me. But as I look at the situation, I just say, you know what? At the same time, I look over and I see the situation with his brother in jail and they're trying to find a way to get him out. And the Monica's next to him. It's just a lot going on. All of this is going on with the Miller family. And I just understand that sometimes everybody who's playing a role in the situation needs to stop and just feel it and say, yo, there's something else going on. This is something I used to do with my mom. And then this might be the reason why I had to turn on this video, because it would help me remind that to myself and help others see this angle that I don't think I've ever heard outside of our household. But me and my mom would get into arguments, and sometimes those arguments would get so bad that we would stop in the middle of the argument and just say, yo, do you really feel this angry, or do you feel like something inside of you is making you rev up as if it's time to fight in a way that isn't natural to what it is you're feeling? We would stop and be like, yo, I'm not this angry. Something's attacking us. Like, we did that maybe twice. It was like, yo, nah, this is wrong. And we would stop mid-argument, pray it off, and then understand, and we would say, yo, I felt as if I was spiritually attacked. I felt as if I was angry about this, but I wasn't as angry as this was making me feel, and I felt like it was trying to turn me against you, and you were the most important person to me. So these are the type of things where it's like, you got to be careful when you're dealing with the people you love, if you're a spiritual entity and you really believe that you're in spiritual warfare, because there are going to be times where the inner demons inside of you go make you want to fight against them more so than what's necessary, just to deteriorate the relationship itself and make you do stuff that'll be a bad example for others. And here with these celebrities, we are seeing that they're dealing with what they're dealing with. And now I wouldn't say they're being a bad example to others, but they're giving themselves to be an example that they don't want to show to the world. You know, they're unearthing things about their family life that maybe they should have a conversation about and think about all angles before really talking about in the public eye, creating opportunities that can to break down both of their lives, not just, you know, his father's, if I'm speaking on Romeo. And so it's like, are you sure that how you're as mad as what you're going to do is going to cause? Or are you not certain that some of those inner demons are trying to make you deteriorate everything that you got going on and hurt more so of what it is than what it is whom it is you're trying to hurt? And I think that's the bottom line. It's like, you know, when you have, let me just speak and say it like this. You have to be certain of what it is, what damage you're going to do when you do certain things. You know, it's like, all right, I want to, if let's say P's not the greatest guy and Romeo just wants to out him. All right, you gotta make sure you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's when you do that. It's the right thing to do. All right, but when you do that, are you not giving those who are your enemies an opportunity to take everything from you? Take everything. Like your father, okay, if he's a bad guy, it turns out this and that, that's what it is. But now, what does that end up doing to you? because he now is that's your father. So your family members, the rest of your family members, whoever it is you trying to, they're affected by that too. So it's a lot of things. It's like, okay, you got to make sure you're praying things right. Make sure your energy's right before you do certain things, even when those things are right. Because sometimes it won't be the right energy or the right motivation, rather, that'll get you doing certain things. And then you end up getting the wrong results because you handle them the wrong way. You approach them the wrong way. So you make the thing happen the wrong way. And as a result, it does the wrong thing. You see what I'm saying? If you don't approach it with love. So it's like, make sure you're not being attacked. Yes, am I angry at my father? I'm angry at my father. But am I going to be doing something that's going to turn me into somebody who makes somebody angry at me in an even more worse way? Am I going to do something to my father that's going to make my niece look at me crazy? And now I got a different type of beef. Maybe I've inspired within her. It's like these type of things are collateral. You don't know that at all. You can't. These are things that are outside of your control when you act a certain way. But if you approach things with the right energy, you do yourself a heck of a lot of favors in those areas. That's when your subconscious takes care of the defense of those things, because you're coming in peacefully and you're not going to do damage to those things. Your niece ain't going to see you acting crazy. She going to see you acting humble. In the same vein, though. In the same vein. Because you're going to be able to understand that what needs to be done will still be done, but you ain't going to do it using these publications and going all kinds of crazy. You ain't going to step up here leaving your father in a position to not defend himself, having him jambalaya, speaking all kinds of stuff. Nah, that's going to make your whole family look crazy. What does that do for your uncle who's in jail, who's trying to get out? What does that do for your other uncle who's trying to keep his business going? What does that do? You know what I'm saying? And so this is why you got to ask yourself, when you're angry at somebody, am I being attacked? Yeah, I got a legitimate gripe, but is what I'm about to do about to cause us collateral damage? Is it about to make my name look worse? Is it about to have me doing some cruel and unusual punishment to them? Something like that. It's like you gotta check yourself, even when you're right. Because when you're right, there's a lot of ways to handle it. You could be strategic, you could act wrong, you could act worse, you could act better, you could be a teacher, you could be a victim. There's a lot of ways to play it. And so that's what I would say to Romeo. It's like, what are you doing while you're dealing with this? Who are you becoming while you're dealing with this? And are you being attacked? Are you being used to attack your father by way of your demons? These are things we have to ask ourselves to be real about. If we really care about the people we love, we got to say that now before it gets to the worst. I'm at a space where I don't have a right to wonder about other people's business, but since the conversation in front of us, it's like I've dealt with bereavement. I've dealt with pain, so I can relate to this degree. You may not be operating the right way when you're dealing with the type of loss I dealt with. You may be blaming people that you don't need to blame. Maybe you need to be talking to a different energy about what went wrong, instead of talking to that sadness inside of you that's saying lash out. I know that much from my own life. That can be possible. So it's like, look, we got to just let's go inside of ourselves sometimes before we lash out. Let's make sure that the gripe we have doesn't cause us to create gripes in others. When we're trying to look for justice or whatever it is you're doing. If it's time, it's time. If you got to unearth it this way, then that's just what it is. But make sure you're not doing it for the wrong reasons. Make sure you're not doing the wrong things. Don't cause more trouble, more damage, more pain. You know what I'm saying? And in the midst of being somebody's karma, if it's time for all his sins to be unearthed to the world, make sure that you're not being wielded by the enemy in doing so. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I'm going to be somebody's karma, I ain't going to have no blowback. I'm going to be working that past my Holy Spirit. Like, look, if you're using me to enact punishment on somebody else, do not turn me into a blade that cuts my own self. Do not turn me into a blade that's trying to harm my own home. In the midst of enacting some karma on somebody else. This is why I pray against generational curses. I don't want no blowback spiritually on nobody else from what it is that I do. Just as I don't want none of somebody else's sins falling on my head. And these are things that, we talk about since this is father and son. It's like, nah, Romeo, don't go down this path of hating your father. Don't go down this path of being the guy that destroys your own dad, bro. You got to have kids in that same stem of genealogy. You're in that same stem, fam. All you're doing is putting that DNA in your own. Your own kid's gonna turn on you. People don't even see that angle. Nah, you got to do that with love. You're in the middle of a line of genes. great-grandparents, ancestors. You're going to be passing some on too. Y'all both somebody's ancestors as you continue to pass down. Don't turn on one another just because money and fame of the current moment. That shit is small. That's small. In the fullness of what it is that you're doing, continuing to pass your genes to the earth, that's small. And when you have fame attached to your name, when you're Miller like that, no, we don't need this Miller and that Miller turning each other in 2022. No, you are black wealth, however we perceive it. And the way I see it is that we black people at a disadvantage, man. I've been watching Pete try to sell content and different things to us that I thought catered to a community that didn't have a lot. And I think that's important to say. When I was growing up, I used to look at Shaq and I looked at him and I looked at people who did that with several others, Patrick Ewing, who provided a quality that was affordable to people like us. They can make high-end stuff like Kanye, but they were looking to try to help or pander, however you view it, because I'll never remove the balance, to people who didn't have much. And in my mind, I thought that was a service to the community because it provided us something with attached to those people that we could be close to, which is why we respected peace so much. I think Romeo was too young to see that movement. I think Romeo was not around for the days when P was in Richmond and people looked at P as something serious. I remember those days when P was running with Tupac and P was running with people like that, Too Short, and making music with those type of dudes. It was a different energy about Master P that was very deeply respected. And so I think that Romeo needed to be immersed in and understanding of that to kind of know how best to approach this, because there's still people like that who really appreciate P who are kind of going to look at him a certain way based on that energy that they still have for P. And so it's like, if you're unearthing something, man, you just got to do it in love, because at the end of the day, that's your dad, man. And a lot of times when our parents hurt us and all of this, we start thinking about that. We want to get revenge. But at the end of the day, let me tell you something. I lost both of my parents, and I'll give you a reality. It's just a cold nothingness, man. My mom is a memory, bro. It's like she's gone. And when I think about all the gripes and the anger I had and the different things I blame her for, it's not screaming at a wall. It's nothing. You got to appreciate your people when they're there. You got to feel them and hug them when they're there, bro. Because when they're gone, that is true to you. You got to know what that means is your reality. It's not what you think it is. You know, when I used to walk around thinking what I thought it would be when my mom passed away, this ain't the reality I thought it was, bro. It is cold. There's nothing there. I'm telling you. And it goes on. It just keeps going. You know, and you see them in your dreams. You pray, and maybe you feel something spiritually like I'm able to. But a lot of people don't feel nothing. It's even cold for us who do. So it's like, nah, don't do that. Don't do that. Make it peace with your family so you can teach your kids how to love you through the circumstances that you may have to be forgiven for too. Do not lose sight of that. You think you're the last dad that's going to have to apologize to their kid for doing something? Bro, we are black people in America. We were taught how to be selfish. We were taught how to exploit ourselves. We got to undo some of this stuff that's taught us how to be wrong to our own kids. They taught us how to leave our families alone. You got to understand, they taught us how to put our families together to be broken. You got to know that. And yeah, it's our fault for being coerced into that, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I can take accountability for being, mind warped and trained a certain way as a person from bondage. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things you have to be accountable for, they tell you. But the reality is, when your mind has been warped, when you've been taught how to hate yourself, you're going to behave a certain way. This ain't that. We got to undo certain things and then be accountable for undoing those things and staying right after that. But until then, we just got to look around and say, yo, that's, we were taught that one. That, yeah, we were coerced into that. Yeah, that was suggested to us. There's a lot of different stuff that comes together to make us broken, man. And you just got to know where it's coming from. You got to know where the money was poured into the suggestions, into the different things that are put into your body to make you confused, the liquor and the different conflicts that are. I'm telling you, man, it's more to it than just, I'm mad at my daddy because he exploited my family. Your daddy was taught a certain thing and he was exploited a certain way and he had to keep a certain image up because he had people behind him telling him he had freaking better. He also had those same people saying, we coming after your money. Give me your tax money. Give me that too. Give me that and that too. Believe me. And you got your brother in jail. No telling how much they was coming after his pockets trying to keep that boy. Man, listen to me, Romeo. This is a cold world, bro. You don't know what your daddy was dealing with. And I don't know what your daddy was dealing with either, but I know what the world looks like around him. And trust me, when you somebody like him, they coming after him and he got to shut up about it. Hear me. There are things you will never know just because them people ain't going to let you know. But I tell you this, if they wanted to come after him, you know what they going to do? They going to come after you. So you better know what type of fires your daddy's putting out every single day. You will never know, Romeo. You will never know what your father's dealing with in real life. Because that's the environment he's in. So hear me good, man. I'm telling you, that's what was put on my heart to speak on. Not the specifics of y'all situation, all that, the treachery or whatever it may be. Bro, I'm telling you, this shit gets ugly out here. But don't think for 1 second that anybody's exempt from having evil or feelings or all of that stuff in their heart, bro. You got to pray your way out of your own demons. And if you learn to hate yourself because you hate your father, believe me, your kids going to hate you too. Trust that. BDF 44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.